Hello and welcome to week 5 of a video series on teaching science in Idaho through the COVID-19 crisis. I'm Rylee DeVito, the State Department of Education science coach, and this week we'll be talking about family science engagement. As many of us are wrapping up teaching this year and transitioning to summer, we can provide students and families activities, ideas, and programs that they can engage in throughout the summer. Today is also about unplugging as much as we can and getting kids to minimize their screen time while still doing science. The activities discussed today are meant to be modular, meaning that they can apply to the family or at-home setting or the classroom in both traditional and extraordinary times, such as now. While I'm sure we are hopeful that things will return to normal soon, we do have to prepare for what school will look like in the fall. Many of the activities mentioned today are designed to address those concerns and needs. Providing ways for families to access science helps reduce learning gaps. While we are typically concerned with the summer gap, we now have the added pandemic gap, depending on how your school operated during the social distancing time. By providing families resources to use at home, we can make efforts to reduce the academic slide and give kids an advantage at the start of next year. At-home science also increases student engagement with their families and communities. This helps build socio-emotional and interpersonal skills while improving mental health and can contribute to stronger family-student bonds. Not only is it positive for students, but it's also positive for the adult family members. They have an opportunity to participate in their child's education as well as participate as members of their community. All of this is to say that at-home science is a great tool to use in conjunction with traditional school. It is by no means a way to replace teaching, but it can be a powerful supplement to what we're already doing. The first resources I want to talk about today are programs here in Idaho that families can have access to. They are a variety of paid, free, or donation-only resources. It's also important to mention that as COVID information changes, some of these resources may become unavailable. Many usual resources have been forced to adjust their models to meet CDC and safety guidelines. However, many have chosen to develop online resources or kits to send home to students. I encourage you to look at each of these resources individually and more in depth to see if their model fits you, your community, your families, and your students best. Western Idaho probably has the most activities simply because of its location. Book and a Bite is geared towards decreasing the literacy gap for third grade students, but all of their events have STEM activities provided by PBS and local businesses. It also provides food for those who can attend. Last year, it was offered in Kuna, Caldwell, and Nampa. And while the activities are aimed for younger students, it is open to K-12 and their families. There's no word on whether this will continue during the summer, but please keep an eye out for it. The YMCA will be offering some STEM camps at some of their locations this summer. Visit their website for more information. The Discovery Center in Boise is still doing summer camps, but they will obviously look different because of the current circumstances. Their program is K-6, and parents can register their kids at the Discovery Center website. The Botanical Gardens are having modified camps this summer as well. They will be offering curbside activities as well as limited activities in the camp setting. Camp Invention takes place in several locations throughout Idaho and are currently still holding camps. They have modified some of their content to better fit the needs and safety guidelines. Again, as things continue to evolve, each of these may look different. Now let's travel over to Eastern Idaho. The College of Eastern Idaho usually offers some summer activities as well as summer camps. While their programs are currently canceled, they may be offering some digital alternatives. There are also summer classes that high school students can take online. The Museum of Idaho in Idaho Falls is set to reopen on June 13th. The Museum of Natural History does not currently have a reopening date, and there's no word on their summer activities. However, between the two museums, there are 360-degree exhibit views, quizzes, coloring pages, and other activities that students can print off and do at home. There are also educational activities that students can do digitally on their site. Since we're talking about museums, now's a good time to mention that, as educators, we can encourage students to visit museums during the summer or school closures, obviously only when it's safe to do so. Zoo Idaho also has a lot of resources for students as well. They still have their summer activities scheduled, but they will have a weekly online zoo events that are free but do require prior registration on their website. Finally, we'll travel to Northern Idaho. The Moss Adventure Camp is still happening, but only digitally. The lessons are inquiry-based and students will be addressing those science and engineering practices. They will be modified to meet student safety needs. The Northern Idaho College is offering camps both in person and digitally for students. University of Idaho still has some tentative camps scheduled. Now we'll talk about some general science activities that don't require travel, registration, or significant cost. While the previous activities are designed to get kids out into their communities doing science, these are much closer to home. These activities are broken up by what the Idaho Science Standards and NGSS call the Disciplinary Core Ideas, or DCI. First, we'll look at activities that align with earth science. You'll notice that I haven't assigned any of these standards, and that's because there are so many different ways that you could do this. If you want to brainstorm some specific standards based off of the activities, please send me an email using the address at the end of the video. The first earth science activity is stargazing. In this activity, students gaze up at the stars on a clear night and make observations about what they see. They can ask questions about the stars, space, planets, or shooting stars. Students can also try to locate and identify different constellations and notice how their position changes throughout the summer. You'll see that there are so many science and engineering practices and cross-cutting concepts that can be addressed in a single activity like this. The specific content isn't necessarily what's essential for this activity, but the students engaging in being scientists is what's important. I've mentioned this activity before, but students can keep a daily or weekly log on what types of weather is happening. They can log cloud types, precipitation types, temperature, and more. If they have continued access to the internet, they can look up local or regional pressure, wind speed, highs and lows, whatever information they're interested in. Students can then graph the information, producing data on how the weather is changing throughout the summer. Students can collect rocks and try to identify them with streaking, cleavage, color, texture, or even taste. There are loads of informational sheets that can be printed off the internet. Students can classify rocks by igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. Students can keep track of the frequency of the rocks they find and make hypotheses about why those types of rocks are most common in Idaho. Gardening will show up when we talk about life science, but you can bring it into the earth science realm by focusing on soil. Students can experiment with what types of soil different plants thrive in. They can test clay, sand, peat, or a mixture. They can even try growing plants without any soil. Students can make and test hypotheses about why the plants respond to the types of soil they're grown in. You might also consider advocating for an eco-conscious move and experimenting with compost. The final earth science activity is a geologically focused one. While on a biking adventure or hiking, students can become rock hounds and take a look at the geology all around them. As you know, Idaho has such unique geology. While on a bike ride or hike, ask students to explain why mountains, canyons, or plains are formed. It's a bonus if you live somewhere near those resources. Students can also talk about river plains, bank erosion, rocks, and rock formations along the way. Obviously, there are way more activities you can do within earth science, such as water quality or crystallography, so if you want some more ideas, be sure to reach out. Here are a few activities for the physical science DCI. Students can cook for or with their families and talk about the chemical reactions taking place. They can talk about why food tastes differently when it's cooked versus raw. The kitchen is also a great place to reinforce proper measuring, following step-by-step instructions, and using materials safely. While STEM activities can fit into a host of DCIs, most of them directly align with physics. Give students engineering challenges or run fun backyard experiments. This might be bottle rockets, egg drops, or catapults. For each of them, have students map out their scientific process or path through the engineering cycle. If you want them to do the STEM route, include art and music in the activities as well. In line with STEM challenges are criteria-focused projects, such as paper airplanes that can travel 12 feet. There are thousands of templates online and activities in books. Students can also do these criteria-based challenges with how much weight can a boat hold, how much weather can a building resist, or a homemade car that goes super fast. The final physical science activity is a crowd favorite in my classroom. Parents, guardians, and older students can obtain special salts available at stores or online and turn fire into different colors such as blue or green. It's a great conversation starter and will get kids asking questions. It's all non-toxic and a fun way to add science to a usual campfire. The last DCI we'll talk about is life science. And I have to admit, there are a lot of resources for this one, and I'm not sure why. It might just be because that's where I personally identify, but here they are. The first activity is bird watching. Students can get into bird watching by working to identify birds, chart their behaviors, and record their habits. They can develop hypotheses about their habitat and food or mating preferences. Students can use their observational skills to draw birds as well. Students can go foraging and pick flowers or leaves and press them between books. For more crafty kids, they can preserve them in resin or hot glue. Students can also work on identifying the plants and explaining why they are shaped or colored the way they are. They can talk about pollination or reproductive processes for that plant. Younger students will enjoy building their own safari. They can create a digital safari and take passengers with them. They can explain the animals or plants that they're seeing while the passengers take pictures and ask questions. This is also great to do on long car rides. Gardening from the life science perspective can still involve a lot of experimentation. Students can plant a variety of plants in different locations such as full sun, shade, or partial sun. They can record their growth and vary the water and fertilizer used. Students can create a structured experiment to produce maximum height, most flowers, or least amount of bugs. The 5 Cents Mystery activity takes its inspiration from late-night show bits and game shows. Students can take turns covering their eyes and trying to identify objects with their other senses. They can try and figure it out just by smell, sound, taste, or touch. They might try and guess different ice cream flavors by taste alone, or guess the mystery item in a shoebox. Biofuel is another fun activity for older students. They can make at-home biofuel by preparing fruits and vegetables with yeast. Put a balloon over the container opening to see how much CO2 is produced. That will tell students how effective their biofuel was. They can even try and light it to see how much fuel was produced. They can talk about cellular respiration and combustion with this activity. If your students have an interest in psychology or animal behavior, and they have a pet, they might consider doing some training. This will teach them about positive or negative reinforcement, animal behavior, and problem solving. And again, I haven't assigned any specific standards because I want you to be flexible and determine what best fits your students and your classroom. Before wrapping up today, I want to share a few resources regarding the teaching at home model. The first resource is from STEM Teaching Tools, which I've mentioned before. They have 4 documents which I found particularly helpful to distribute for students and families. The first is the Support for Families document. This document also has a student version and is presented in several different languages. It provides some easy to understand information about implementing science at home. The next resource is my favorite, and I think it will be invaluable to you and your families. It's about starting dialogue with students at home. While we know that teaching science is complicated and we can't expect parents to explain how photosynthesis, spacetime, or hydrolysis works, we can ask them to get their kids thinking about what's around them. I would recommend using this document in conjunction with any of the previously mentioned activities. The next resource is on how to make a science notebook at home. This gives some great ideas and guidelines for how to build a science notebook with a family. The final resource from STEM Teaching Tools is Phenomenon for Home. I've talked about Phenomenon in the past few weeks, and this is simply the family-friendly version of that information. Parents can begin finding Phenomenon and asking kids about it at home. All of these resources are available on the STEM Teaching Tools site, and I would highly encourage exploring all of the parent resources as well as the teacher-friendly versions of these. I'll post the link for STEM Teaching Tools below in the video description. Here's a list of STEM activities that students can do at home. All of these sites have printable or digital activities that students can do with their families. Finally, all of these different YouTube channels have a plethora of science videos that explore things from all of the DCIs, and they're just interesting. If your families have access to any streaming services, I would encourage them to watch documentaries such as Planet Earth or Blue Planet or BBC Nature. As always, if you need to brainstorm or have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can email me at devito.idahosciencecoach@gmail.com. Good luck and keep up the sciencing. This presentation was brought to you by the Idaho State Department of Education.